I wish I would have known about the tickets beforehand. We'll already be there, so I bought my own tickets. Sarah, do you want them?
No, we already have plans.
If no one else wants them, can I give them to some friends?
Good. I would hate for them to go to waste.
So you have the prohibition against disqualified persons. And one way I like to think of that is it's more of an up and down kind of thing. So ancestors and descendants and spouses of both. So you go up or down from whoever is the grantor. Sideways, and again, this is one of those quirky things with the IRS. Aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews are not considered disqualified persons. But in this case, even though the friends would not be disqualified persons, giving them to your friends is not a charitable purpose, and the IRS frowns upon that for the most part. If this is an organization that you are considering and they need to monitor a grant that you have already made, they want to see how they're using the money, staff can go. That's the only reason, that's the only way they can go. Staff are considered disqualified persons as well, just as your executive director would be.
Next up is the expansion. You know the foundation's growing rather rapidly. What you may not know is that I'm tired of doing all the work for all the paperwork, and as we grow, there's more and more of it, and it's getting overwhelming.
I'm tired also having all the paper around the house.
We really need to get some office space and potentially hire a staff member, at least part-time, to handle some of the work. I think we need a full board approval to go ahead.
You know, it makes sense to me.
If you're looking for office space, you know, I own a building right downtown. I have a small office in there that's been open for quite a while. I don't know why they won't rent it. You know what? I could rent it to the foundation. I'd give it to you at half the monthly rate we would normally charge.
Actually, the rule is that you cannot rent, the disqualified person cannot rent to the foundation under any circumstances, even if it's fair. The only way they can do it is if they pay no rent, okay? If there is a lease, he owns the building and there is a lease, that lease has to be signed by a third party, not the disqualified person. So the only way that this foundation could do this was if, one, there's no rent at all charged. Jeff couldn't charge them any rent. Otherwise, it would be self-dealing. He's going to get an economic benefit, even if it is below market, and especially if it is at market. Does everyone understand that? Okay. And then you have to make sure, even if you're sharing space, you have to make sure that all of the records show these are the expenses of the foundation, these are the expenses of whoever you're sharing the space with. It has to be kept separate because there's always the chance that the IRS could say there's some self-dealing here.
I know that building. It would be a perfect location, and a lot of nonprofits are very close.
You could come down and take a look at it next week.
Well, that sounds good. Are we all agreed?
Yeah,
Agreed.
Agreed.
Now, what about a staff person?
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
How are you going to handle your job, your kids, and the foundation work? I mean, come on. You're already a complete disorganized mess. Oh, I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Sure. I wouldn't do both jobs. I'd quit my job and work for the foundation.
Wait a minute, I thought you liked your job.
You thought wrong. I just got a new boss who needs to be killed. Seriously, that woman should be beheaded on a public square. Besides, I'm already working with nonprofits in my job. I know them all. I would be great at this.
Well, if you want to, we'll give it a try.
I'm making $75,000 now.
Well, that could work out well. I suppose the salary would just stay the same. You're working with nonprofits now. That'd be just about right then.
We've just moved over. Is it okay to pay a board member who's a family member to run the foundation? Okay, got that. So then how do you figure out what's reasonable? What are some things that the IRS is going to look at? The Council on Foundations has a grant maker's salary and compensation guide, and the IRS, thankfully, pays attention to that. And so they're looking at a source to determine what salary is a source that comes from the nonprofit sector, which is why I'm happy that the IRS is looking at it, as opposed to making up their own. Having a benchmark is very important. But what's important is that you're looking at a similarly situated foundation, size, and grant-making purpose, and similarly situated duties. So what is it that this person is going to do? And that's how you make the comparison.
Let's give it a try.
Oh, this is a good meeting.
For you, maybe.
Jeff, is there any legal paperwork that we need to do on this?
Didn't you hire someone from my firm, Beasley, to do the initial work for you in setting up the foundation?
Yeah, you recommended him. He was good. Reasonable cost, too. I thought your firm was much more expensive.
Why don't I talk to him when we get back home and see what you would need? He works pretty exclusively with family foundations. I'm sure he would give you the same low rate. Cut you a family discount deal.
Was everyone fine with that? Him referring, there's some heads shaking no. So what just happened was Jeff was saying he's going to refer this back to his law firm and have an associate work on it. Is everyone fine with that? No, you're not fine with it? Yeah, well, he's making money for a service. Again, this is the one time that I said it would be okay to pay him for those services. It sort of depends. I mean, it sort of depends on lots of circumstances. There are many situations where attorneys will lower their fee based on their relationship with the client. This wouldn't be any different. Let's say, for instance, that he also has a client that is an auto parts maker, and he knows that if he does good work and he gives him a reasonable price, that he may refer him to other clients. There's really no difference here.
All right, let's get going on these grants now so we can get through all this.
You know, there were so many grant requests this time, it took me forever to read through them all.
Oh, that's what plane rides are for.
Okay, first grant. The YMCA is looking for support for the building campaign.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
I really liked this one. They do need to expand. I take the kids to the Y a lot, and it is so crowded.
I've been there for the swim lessons, and you're right, the new locker room would help. It's supposed to be just for families, so the adults would have their own space.
You know, I would really love to go there without tripping over all the kids in the locker room while I'm changing my clothes.
My point is that even more people would take advantage of the Y programs if it weren't so crowded. They really need this. I said the full amount, $20,000.
I agree. Everyone?
Agreed.
Your mom and I made a personal pledge to the campaign
Well,
of
that
$40,000.
would satisfy half the pledge.
Okay. Just because there is a conflict doesn't make it illegal. But you need to have this disclosed, and she's disclosing it now, but they need to have a conflict of interest policy.